Hello everyone, welcome back to the channel. It is CoachFury here today. And well, as you can probably see from the title, the splash landing here, we are going to talk about the Big Ten on the CBGM and talk about the recruiting update so far. For those of you who've been following on Discord, you'll probably see that the Big Ten has kind of been ridiculed a little bit in terms of the recruiting so far. And well, I just wanted to dive in and just see whether that is the case, or whether there's a little bit of fake news going around really. But let's dive straight in and see, and we'll work for each team. So we're starting with Illinois. They've obviously recruited just one player so far, the 4-star JP Benson. Yeah, I mean, he looks like he's a bit of a specialist shooter, if I'm honest. He's not going to give you much else outside of that. But, 16 points, 11 rebounds. He's going to be a nice stretch four who can't play defense, in my opinion. But for Illinois, grabbed a top 100 prospect. That's not too bad. Are they in with anyone else at this moment in time? They also, looks like the only guy that they're warm on at the minute is Ryan Bryson, who I'm probably guessing they're probably not going to recruit at this point. So at the moment, JP Benson into Illinois looks like an okay prospect. As I said, probably a stretch four. He can't play defense, but can get you rebounding. Be interested to see whether he plays at the power forward position or small forward position going forward. But Illinois still have some work to do, certainly. Let's move on to Indiana. So Indiana have managed to grab two 4-star guys. Matt Bullock, who looks like a really good all-round prospect, if I'm perfectly honest with you. As you can see, I don't have a lot of information on him because he wasn't interested in joining Michigan. But from the ratings here, we can see he is going to be a very good player, especially for Indiana. He is 6'10", 256 pounds, so he is a good size for college in terms of a center position. He has shot blocking, stealing ability, good inside shot. He can also pass the ball. He's going to be a really good prospect and a good player to build around. As you can probably see from his stats, he's not going to be a guy who's going to necessarily put up silly points for you in the centre, but he's going to do a good job, and he's going to do a good all-round job. He's going to grab rebounds, block shots, grab steals, do all the dirty work around other talented players probably on that Indiana roster. So I think that's a really good pickup. National ranked 49th is always a good pickup if he looks like that. So moving on to Indiana's second recruiting prospect they've managed to acquire, Steve Smiley, who again looks like a really good player actually. I think he's going to be solid. Good outrange, good shot outside. He's okay. I mean, he's not going to be able to play point guard for this team. His passing and handling is not good enough in my opinion. Plays a bit of defense, but to be honest with you, he is a guy who's going to come in again similar to Matt Bullock here, in the sense that he's going to give you a bit of good shooting. He's not going to demand the ball, but he can do a bit of other things. He can shoot. He can play a bit of defense. He can steal the ball okay, but I think he's really going to be one of those three, possibly a 3 and D type player with maybe not as much on the D, more on the 3 side. But for me, Indiana, another good pickup. They managed to take 2 top 100 prospects out of the national rankings. So whenever you do that, if you're a program, that's always a good start to build around. So we move on to Iowa. Iowa have managed to only recruit one player so far. That is Brian Perry, who I know nothing about. So I can't really comment too much, apart from the fact he's a national rank 635. So for a team ranked in the top 25 at the moment in the CBGM, that's a questionable decision. So I mean, they've got a lot of work to do. It looks like they're going to possibly try and pick up Leon Neal, who again I know nothing about, who is a very low ranked prospect. So either Iowa are diving into the sub 3-star guys and are finding absolute gems that I haven't scouted, or this could be a questionable move for them. But looking to get a point guard and a center is always a good start. We'll probably come back to them once they actually land on their rotation next year and actually comment as to whether they were good pickups or not. But honestly, I can't give them too much comments at this moment in time. So we move on to Maryland, who haven't actually managed to secure anyone, and they're hot on just one guy. That is Elton Abrams, who is an okay player. Again, very similar to let me double check who that is, to Illinois, in the sense they've chased a guy who's a sort of stretch 4 kind of guy, but well, not really stretch 4 kind of guy. He's more of a 4 kind of guy who does the inside dirty job with rebounding. Not the best defender. He's not going to block shots. For me, I question whether this guy he's nationally ranked 62 overall. He didn't really do anything in terms of when we started looking at him. I don't know why he's ranked so high, to be perfectly honest. I will see how he does when he lands in Maryland. But for me, if he lands in Maryland, he's not actually been recruited yet. Maryland still have a lot of work to do, though, certainly, in terms of one of the Big Ten programs here. Right, so Michigan moving on. They were obviously chasing a lot of the 5-star guys. Fell back to grabbing 2 really good 4-star prospects, to be honest with you. Myron Chapman, who was ranked 27th overall, looks like a really good sort of power forward guy. He's got a good inside-outside shot. He can do a bit of both. Good passing, ball handling. Questionable rebounder, though, so he's going to be one of these sort of 4s who's not really going to want to get and do the dirty work. His defense is pretty atrocious as well as at sea. But, if you're building a team that's looking at sort of a flexible rotation of guys who can do a bit of shooting in all positions and really causing flexibility problems on offense, Myron Chapman is a really good guy for that. I just wonder with that defense whether that's going to be exposed a little bit at this college level. In particular, a team like Michigan State, where they are going to be competing in March Madness pretty much all the time, going to be competing for the Big Ten Conference all the time. Not sure whether that's going to be exposed a little bit more than if he was at a smaller program. Moving on, he's also picked up Marcus Hughes, who is just a phenomenal player. I mean, there's no denying that. That is a fantastic pickup by Michigan State. So it shows the Big Ten can recruit, maybe not the 5-stars, but some of these 4-star guys, they're managing to acquire really well. Marcus Hughes is going to be a phenomenal player looking at these ratings. I'm not sure how raw he is because I haven't got a great deal of scouting on him, but looking at those stats, he's going to be able to do everything. And looking at his what he did at high school, he's going to be able to do everything. Grab steals, grab rebounds, score phenomenally. Marcus Hughes is going to be an absolute great pickup for Michigan State. Going to probably come in, if he's not raw, he's going to come in and be a really good starter for them. So Michigan State's had a good recruiting period so far, in my opinion. Moving on to Minnesota, who've had a couple of scholarships to throw around. For me, they've had a pretty hit and miss recruiting, and we'll sort of dive into that a little bit now. So Justin Pearson, I know nothing about. You can see here from the ratings, he looks like he's an okay prospect. To be perfectly honest with you, he'll be a rotation piece. So maybe Minnesota's seen something that nobody else has, but again, I haven't dived into anyone sort of ranked nationally 500 and below. So maybe he's a diamond in the rough, but from what I can see, he can do a bit of everything. He's a terrible inside shooter though, so he's not going to drive. He's going to be able to shoot from outside, but not that effectively. He can only, in my opinion, play one position, and that is shooting guard because of his height and because of his terrible ball handling ability. He's also a really bad free thrower, which is okay because I guess he's not going to be driving inside too much, given he's a D- in inside shooting. So for me, that's a rotation guy. Maybe they've seen something else. Again, we might come back and revisit that one at a later stage. So if we get onto the 4-star guys that they've managed to recruit, Jerry Strange is a good pickup, I think. So a good pickup. I mean, he's probably going to be a starter for them. He's a guy who didn't really stand out in any of the camps in terms of the elite ones. But in terms of Chicago, he was a top 10 player. So he, as a 4-star prospect, if he's a top 10 guy at Chicago, he's going to come in, he's going to be pretty much a good player based on his ratings. So he's a guy who's not going to really lose anything on the defensive side. On the offensive side, he's going to give you a bit of range and a bit of scoring ability. So for me, good pickup by Minnesota. I think he's going to come in, plugged in really well. Shame his rebounding's not slightly higher. If his rebounding is a bit higher than probably a D+, he could probably play anywhere from the small forward and the shooting guard position and be a real versatile wing. So see where he goes in Minnesota, but that's the only thing that might hold him back in terms of rotation and minutes is that he can only play shooting guard. But my opinion is a good pickup. Dwayne Ward, okay. So this is an interesting one because I don't know how raw this guy is going to come in at. From the stats here, he looks like he's a really good sized power forward, can shoot inside and outside, play defense, rebound really, really well. Not going to get you steals or block shots though. I mean, he's going to do rebounding, shooting, and a bit of defense. That's pretty much what he's there to do. I'm not sure how raw he's going to be coming in though. He's ranked 43rd in the nation. He's also third best regional big at his position at power forward. But he didn't stand out at the Chicago prep camp. So maybe he'll come in slightly raw, but he could develop over those 4 years to be a good starter. So for someone like Minnesota, I think that's a good pickup. He's going to get minutes probably from day one when he comes in and develop hopefully alongside that. Which then moves us on to the final pickup for Minnesota, which was Jamal Gruller. So this is a guy I did look at quite considerably. As you can see there, I was ranked number 4 on his list. I think I was in the top 3 until I pulled the scholarship from him. So I looked at him. Stats look phenomenal. Looks good. 16 and 9 from high school. Skill ratings all look pretty good. He's going to be able to play average defense, but he can handle the rock and shoot a little. The only thing that put me off, for me personally, was that he didn't stand out at Chicago again. So I was questioning how raw he would be coming in. But again, if he comes in and he's not as raw as I thought he was, and he's got some good ratings around these skill ratings, he could be a good starter for them from day one. And it might be that I might be sitting here going, I really wish I'd chased Grawler a little bit more. So it's a bit mixed in my opinion, which kind of brings me to my summary of Minnesota. Is that I think they've made one great pickup in Jerry Strange. He's going to be awesome from day one. Ward and Grawler, I think, are going to be questionable. How raw they are. If they come in and they're less raw than I possibly think they are, Minnesota's had a good recruiting class then. Justin Pearson is the one I have no information about, and I can't really provide a comment on that. So I'd say overall, if I gave Minnesota a view, I think they've had a good class. They've chased some 4 stars. Just depends how raw they are, to be honest with you. So moving on to Nebraska. Nebraska so far have picked up 2 3-star guys. Ross Thompson, who I know nothing about, so I can't comment on that. And Kevin Lentz, who I know nothing about, so I can't comment on that. So, I mean, looking at this national rank, they're both within sort of the top 200. Positional rank, they're both in the top 50. Probably good pickups, I would guess. Honestly, sorry Nebraska, I can't give you any more comments other than that. So Northwestern, let's move on here. So they've picked up one guy, Eddie Wallace, who I was looking at quite considerably because his skill ratings look pretty good. He's jumped quite considerably in the rankings as well. You can see there he was sub 180, I think, when I looked at him. He's now nearly just inside the top 100 overall. I mean, it's tough to tell because he didn't attend any camps because he was ranked so low. But if he comes in and he's polished, he's going to be a good player, I think. He's going to be able to give good outside shooting again. He can play, in my opinion, positions 1 to 3, point guard, shooting guard, small forward, which is versatility like that is essential. For a team like Northwestern, he's going to be a good pickup. Even if he comes in slightly raw, Northwestern's got to build a program. They are probably one of the toughest situations now, and so to pick up a 4-star prospect, even if he is raw, is a good start for them. In terms of other guys they're looking at, they haven't got a great deal out in there in terms of status interest yet. Monty Hunter's someone they're looking at. He looks atrocious. Maybe they're not going back to him, I would imagine. But Northwestern, good pickup, I think, so far. Still got a bit of a way to go in terms of building the program. So we move on to Ohio State. Well, I mean, they've probably been the subject of most of the memes going around on the Discord channel at the moment in terms of them chasing 5-star guys and being completely blown out despite being in the top 3 for a lot of those prospects. They have one commit at the moment, which is Marlon Rammy, who I didn't really look at because he had no interest in joining us. But looking at this, he's a good outside shooter, plays okay defense, stealing ability is not bad. He has some question marks in terms of ability to rebound, but he's only 6 foot. So to be honest with you, he probably is going to be a backcourt point guard, shooting guard type player who's going to shoot a 3. But, you don't want him doing much else outside of that, to be honest. So Ohio, probably that's a panic decision there, I think, to just get someone in. I don't have much more to say on that one. But in terms of other guys they are chasing, so Abel Marlow is one that they have been looking at. I looked at him quite considerably. Again, because he's ranked so low, I didn't necessarily throw an offer in because he would have been probably like a 4th or 5th choice for me. But, if he comes in with these ratings, I mean, that's going to be awesome for them. I mean, a 6'8" shooting, small forward, he can do everything. I mean, if he comes in like that and he's not raw, that's a phenomenal pickup, to be honest with you, especially that he's down in the doldrums of sort of the sub 200 national ranking players. So good. So far, I'd say Ohio's probably sort of hit and missed on a lot of guys, and they're sort of now it's about who they can bring in next. So you can see here they've looked at Abel Marlow, Rod Wilson, Tim Robinson, and Darren Daniels are sort of their main guys they're chasing. So it looks like they're mainly looking at sort of the wing position, to be honest, to be addressed. So we'll see how that goes. But Ohio State have a lot of recruiting to do still. Moving on to Penn State. So Penn State have one 3-star guy committed at the minute. Don't have a great deal of information about David Galloway. Interestingly, again, he's sort of a sort of a small forward who wants to get inside and doesn't have an outside shot. So I could probably see him possibly playing a little bit between small forward and power forward, although his rebounding ability is really going to hinder him. Looking at that skill ratings and based on other knowledge, he's going to struggle at college level, even in a specific type of offense where he is, basically just expected to drive to the basket. His free throws are not great enough to sort of draw that. Be interested what his drawing fouls ability is like, because if that's pretty high, that could kind of save him. He's going to play okay defense, but outside of that, he's not got a lot else going for him. They are also chasing 2 centers in terms of offers. Justin Jackson, who is an undersized center, good inside shot, average at everything else. Okay, he's not going to move the needle for Penn State there. And Chris Fiend, who, again, similar type of player, to be perfectly honest with you. So Penn State still have a fair bit of time to get on and actually bring in some players. Right, so we're on to Purdue. So they brought in Mike Flores, who I did look at quite a lot. He is a top 100 guy, and he has been a top 100 guy for the whole of recruiting. On paper, looks like a really good player. He's going to handle the ball. He's going to shoot. He can play okay defense, but that handling ability A- is, if he is not as raw as I think he is going to be a really good point guard, because ball handling ability in general across point guards in the CBGM is atrocious. He didn't stand out though at Indy or at Chicago, which is a worry for me, in my honest opinion. That he probably is going to come in. He's going to be a high ceiling guy, probably going to be a 1.5 star guy though to begin with, and that probably is going to impact him in terms of playing time at Purdue. So for me, it's going to be about how he develops. If it maybe Purdue will redshirt him, hope he doesn't declare, and then develop him that way. And maybe he's more of a 2-3 year type of prospect really. So they also have an offer out for Tim Robinson, who I did look at quite a lot. He was a top 25 guy at Chicago. He was decent at Indy, which means he's going to be pretty good prospect coming in. I'm surprised he's dropped down so low in the national rankings. For me, I liked him because he could play great defense, could shoot, and he also was okay at rebounding and sort of stealing the ball. So he was going to be a really pesky type of defender and a guy who can shoot a shot if you need him to. The only thing that put me off was that ball handling ability, to be perfectly honest with you. I would really want to play him sort of at shooting guard and at small forward. And for me, if he's going to play shooting guard, his ball handling ability's got to be better than a D-. But, a solid offer if I'm looking at it. He also is number 2 on the list there, so maybe they'll pick Xavier and grab him from there. So moving on to Rutgers, they don't have anyone at the moment. They are just looking at one guy, Elton Abrams, who is a rebounding inside scoring machine by the looks of this. He didn't stand out at the Big Apple showcase, so he's probably going to be pretty raw coming in. But he is not a shot blocker. He's a guy who's, again, look, he's double machine at high school, but he doesn't block shots. I mean, for a guy who is a powerful and you don't block a shot and you don't get a steal, that's a worry. For me, he's too one-dimensional, but, that's the only guy they're chasing at this moment in time. They clearly have a lot of work to do. I would assume, looking at this, they're on AI, so it's a little bit of a fog of war there, but they have a lot of work to do. So Wisconsin, they have brought in 2 guys. Jaron Jennings is the main guy they brought in, the 5-star prospect, who is, I think he's going to be a good player from day one. He was decent at Indy. So for me, I think he's going to come in. He might be slightly raw than a 5-star type of guy, but he's going to be solid. But that ball handling ability, that's what put me off him. I never really chased him after sort of week 1 or 2, because when I saw that completely put me off. But he's got good passing, scoring, rebounding ability, and he can hit an outside shot. The only thing is that at 6 foot, 186 pounds, he's not going to be able to play in terms of the small forward position. He's going to probably be limited, in my opinion. I would put him at shooting guard. I don't want him handling the ball. That is an absolute paramount requirement if he's D+ in ball handling. But if he can hit a shot, he can rebound, he can steal. He's going to be an aggressive, pesky, undersized shooting guard is where I see him. So for Wisconsin, I think he's a good pickup. Providing, we can check, providing that they actually do have a decent point guard, which I'm probably sure they do. So they have O'Brien who's okay, actually his handling's okay. So they do have a 5-star prospect who they're developing as well in Tommy Page. So probably the right decision there. It's going to be an undersized backcourt, but it's going to be a fun one. I mean, Jaron Jennings at shooting guard, if he comes in looking fairly good with these skill ratings, he's going to be a really good shooting guard. He could put up some good numbers in this Wisconsin team. So they've also picked up Nick Murray, who again was a sort of top 100 guy pretty much most of recruiting. Didn't stand out at Indy, so that's a worry. It means he's probably going to be slightly raw than his four-star rating here. And well, he's a good inside player. Scoring's okay. For me, the free throws are a worry. The ball handling's a worry. The fact he doesn't block shots again is a worry. But maybe looking at his high school numbers, he does do enough there. The question is going to be about how raw he is coming in. His defense is going to be okay. He's going to be reliant on sort of getting inside, but he can make the outside shot if needed. So given the fact he's 6'6", he might flick around sort of anywhere from, I would guess, from centre to small forward is where I would kind of rotate him around, depending on what else you've got around him in a rotation. So I'd say he's a solid pickup. Probably not going to be a day one starter though, if I'm honest. Whereas Jaron Jennings for me is a good pickup, but just whatever you do, Wisconsin, don't play him at point guard because he's going to completely ruin any offensive strategy or system that you have. So that brings us to a close in terms of the Big Ten, in terms of the recruiting update so far. Clearly, there's a lot of areas to sort of teams to recruit on so far. You know, still a lot of these Big Ten teams need to bring in players, but I think overall it's fair to say the Big Ten's recruiting has not been as bad as they've been advertised so far. A lot of them have brought in some underrated guys. A lot of them have been looking at probably the top 100, which is not necessarily a bad thing. And the proof will be in the pudding when these guys actually do sign and do come into the rosters, and then we can probably get a further breakdown then. But overall, Big Ten's not looking too bad in my opinion. We'll see how it goes. Obviously, it's not the 5-star guys have not come over to the Big Ten so far and haven't for this recruiting class, which is a worry probably longer term. But it seems like a lot of people are building their programs around maybe 3-4 year guys, which is probably not necessarily the bad way to go. So we'll see how it goes in the rest of recruiting. We'll probably come back and do a recap on the Big Ten once recruiting ends and look at it in a bit more detail. But hope you're enjoying the CBGM so far, and particularly we'll keep an eye out for the Big Ten going forward.